Town Council, and I call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome all councillors in attendance. I'd like to welcome as well our CAO, Jeff Baker, our Municipal Clerk, Kim Casely, our new Manager of Finance and Administration, Dylan Paul, is here with us tonight. Our Police Chief, Louis Sutherland, is here. And also we have special guests tonight. We have Marie Burge and Wayne Easter, and we'll call on you folks in a few minutes to make a presentation. And also I'd like to say hello to all those who are viewing from home, and welcome. You will find our agenda package on our website, so by all means feel free to find it there. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is the unceded Mi'kmaq territory and is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. Council, the agenda is before you. There are no additions or deletions that we have noted. If there's, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. So moved by Councillor Glant, seconded by Councillor Toombs. All those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Any declarations of conflict of interest on the topics that are coming for us tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4, which is delegation. Now tonight we have before us, with us, Marie Burge and Wayne Easter from representing the Cooper Institute. And I had a meeting with Marie about a month ago, maybe, something like that, on basic income guarantee. As council will recall, I think it was on April the 24th. Yes, April the 24th. I presented some information to you of a resolution that was going to be taken to the Atlantic Mayors Congress, and council approved me to go and vote in favor of that if the Atlantic Mayor Congress did agree. The purpose of this meeting tonight is for Wayne and Marie to actually present what this is all about, give us some education, and I think at some point they will be looking for us for our town council to consider a resolution in support of their initiative. And so tonight is an education process, not only for us, but also for the viewing public, if anybody wants to know. So by all means, I'm not sure who's going to take it away, but Marie's going to start off. Marie, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Casely and councillors, for receiving us. This is a very exciting evening for us, and because we have gotten a really warm reception from the mayor, and we just feel really positive about presenting and you considering a resolution. So I work with Cooper Institute, which is a founding member of the PEI Working Group for a Livable Income, which was set up in 2003. And it's a community-based organization which has a lot of community input. And right from the beginning, that's 20 years ago, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. And so right at the very beginning, even though basic income was not being talked about in 2003 like it is today, we began our organization saying that there's only one way that we could deal with not just poverty, but the inequality in the community, and the way people are really deprived. Many people are deprived even of their democratic rights, because when you're worrying about what you're going to eat and how you're going to pay your rent, it's really hard to get involved in the community organization. So we put a lot of emphasis on that right from the beginning, and also the effect of income on the health of the people. That's of the whole community. And since then, there have been massive studies on how much income really influences the health of the people, and how expensive it is for the healthcare system when people don't have proper food and don't have proper housing now. So right from the beginning, we have kind of proposed and have lobbied for basic income guarantee. Now, it has a number of different names. You'll hear it called income guarantee, or it has about 4 or 5 different names, but they all represent the same thing. A basic income guarantee is a cash payment, and it's sent regularly to the people, and how we define this is the people who need it to bring them up to the current poverty line. And so when we talk about, we're not talking about, checks going out and people living high off the hog. We're talking about people just getting to poverty line. And so it's not high living. And the poverty line that we use here in PEI and across Canada now is the market basket measure, which is the cost of just the basic things we need for daily and weekly living. And so at this particular moment, we may find that the market basket measure has a different level than it would have had like 6 months ago because of how costs have gone up. So it's something that fluctuates. But in reality, what basic income guarantee does, it guarantees that everybody has the right, and it is to be honored, to be able to meet their basic needs according to market basket measure.
Ellen, you want to go? Your son's looking for you, I think. Go ahead. Sorry, Marie.
It's okay. That's all right. So when we talk about this, we are talking just simply about bringing people up to the poverty line. In PEI, for example, at any given time, we can have up to 40% of the people living below the poverty line, or just about, verging on the poverty line. That has to do with our seasonal work, and there are a lot of people who are laid out for part of the year, and if they're on employment insurance, it certainly is not. It's not enough to live on. So we do have a high rate of need for basic income in PEI, but we're not just interested in PEI. We would want basic income guarantee eventually to be all across Canada. So in PEI right now, what we're looking forward to is for the provincial government and the federal government to come together and to talk about possibility of creating a basic income 5 to 7 year demonstration program for PEI. And it's funded, it has to be funded by both federal and provincial governments. Not just because PEI needs that. Every province in Canada would need to do that because the federation is set up in such a way that a lot of the programs are both provincial and federal. So federal and provincial money has to be there. And so the conversation has to take place between the province and Ottawa. That conversation has to take place, or we're going nowhere with that. So just in case you're wondering why we're talking to municipalities, a lot of municipalities have already come out in favor of basic income, and others have just simply said, at least let's have the government sit down and talk about it. So we already have passed in the Atlantic area alone a resolution like you have presented to you, a resolution almost worded exactly the same way, and was passed already in Halifax, Antigonish, Pictou County and Pictou Town, Miramichi, Edmundston, Fredericton, St. John, Moncton. So all of those, this is happening in the last couple of years. This is an effort that actually started in British Columbia. In British Columbia, they went from council to council and just asked the council to come out and say, we need to move forward with something on basic income. And in fact, the whole federation in British Columbia now is in that position of supporting basic income. And as the mayor mentioned, there was the mayor's Congress in Amherst in June, and that almost the same resolution was passed there. And so our goal is to get important groups here in PEI and across the country to actually support the concept and also how we put in place a basic income guarantee. And one of the important groups that we identified across the country, we have a pan-Canadian non-governmental organization that's worked on this for the past 4 years. And it's, the idea is get as many people as we can to come out in support of basic income in whatever way the groups are. So we've gone to a lot of groups, and so the municipalities is really key in all of that. The municipalities are the ones who bear a lot of the concerns and the life of people who are not able to just have their ordinary daily needs met. So that's felt a lot in the municipalities across the country, and in the Atlantic area is what we're finding out as well. So I just want to give a little introduction to that, and so Wayne will continue, and Wayne will also take questions if you have questions.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Really, I'm part of Coalition Canada, and we did a fairly major study on basic income guarantee over the last, I think we started in November 2001. And there's, I'm a retired MP, there's a retired Conservative MP and a retired NDP MP on that grouping, and about 6 economists, some social activists. And so what we basically did was, and the problem we have is we can't make it public yet because we haven't got authority to do that. But what we wanted to do when we put together a basic income guarantee proposal with all the nuts and bolts, our instructions to everybody was, let's show it warts and all. If there's my initial thought was, the current social welfare system isn't really working. Poverty's still too high, so we need to improve the social welfare system. Will this do it? And there's too much duplication of services. So my initial thought was, okay, you'd be able to get rid of some of the welfare programs and many other programs, reduce the bureaucracy, et cetera, that saving could probably cover the cost of a basic income guarantee. It doesn't quite work out that way. It is more expensive than we originally envisioned, and we looked under many different scenarios on how to do this. So I guess the bottom line is with the proposal we put forward, the legislature in PEI had the Special Committee on Poverty. They had put together a report, and they talked about the need for the province to negotiate a basic income guarantee with the province. It had all-party support here. Passed a motion in the legislature. We encouraged leaders again to sign off on a letter that they all would support that going forward. So where we're at now is the Premier does have a copy of this, but we can't give you one. The Premier has given a copy to the Prime Minister. And what we're suggesting is the ideal would be to have 3 demonstration projects across the country. One here, maybe one in a city in Ontario, one in BC, wherever. But at the very least, we need one demonstration project in place for 5 to 7 years, of which the federal and provincial governments would fund it. And the key in terms of doing that would be the data collection and the analysis on an ongoing basis. Will this concept do what we think it will do? I personally believe it would improve mental health, physical health, education, less domestic disputes, all those kind of things. There's a lot of benefits. The labor, I breakfast once in a while with people in the business community. Many of them are opposed because they say, well, people stay home and they'll work, and they'll not work. I don't believe that to be the case. Our analysis shows it's basically a wash, that there would be hardly any reduction in terms of availability to the labor force. But none of us really know, in all honesty. There was a basic income guarantee project in place in Dauphin, Manitoba in the 70s, I think it was, might have been 80s. No data on that, and it's different times anyway. There was a proposal in Ontario that was in place in one of the cities there. And when Ford came in, it had been on the go 2 years. He canceled it. So there is some data on that. There's some people claim that there was a considerable benefit to it, but you still don't have the long-term analysis of which to really get the details and the information that you really need. So bottom line, we believe the province needs to continue to move forward to negotiate an arrangement with the federal government where they'd put in place a basic income guarantee as a demonstration project in this province for 7 years. No better place to do it. You have a small population, considerably higher than it was 2 years ago, but you have a relatively small population. You have rural, you have urban, you have schools, you have hospitals, so that's where we're at the moment. And there is Premier's on side, but he hasn't really pushed the issue yet. In terms of the municipalities, in part because we've been meeting with municipalities, there is some worry among some, well, what's the cost to them? There isn't any, because this is provincial federal. I think the benefits would be at the provincial level because you have to deal with poverty in your communities, whether it's food banks or whatever it might be. We don't anticipate there'd be any cost to the municipalities, but the reason we're meeting with them, if you're having strategically, politically, if you're having the Premier and all parties inside to push the Prime Minister to come in and cost share this program, the last thing you want is some mayor somewhere coming out and going against the program for whatever reason they may envisage, and that could be a killer to getting where you want to go. So that's why we're meeting with the municipalities. We don't envision a cost at that level. Based on what we have put together in the proposal, this would it would completely eradicate deep poverty, and it would reduce poverty from about current 10% to about 2%. So it would completely eradicate poverty as such, but it'll eradicate deep poverty and reduce very, very substantially poverty as a whole. So put it in place for, if we could get it for 5 to 7 years, do the analysis, do the monitoring, do the data, maybe make some improvements as you go along, and at the end of the day, where do you go from there? So that's the bottom line there.
Does it exist elsewhere in the world? Are there other countries?
Not the same type of proposal. There is, it's been proposed, is it Finland, I think, yeah.
And of course, the
Go ahead.
devil's in the details of how it would all be set up, but that's.
Yeah, we've
you
been
have
hoping
any-
to release this, but we haven't got authority from Coalition Canada to release the full report yet, so we've just been stepping ahead in any event.
Yes. It's in the hands of the PEI government right now, and our decision was that that was the proper thing to do, to put it in the hands of the PEI government. And what they're working on right now is having orientations for the caucus, the government caucus, a couple of key departments. So that will be happening within the next month or so.
One of the biggest, and you would know him, Mr. Mayor, is Mike Savage. He's one of the biggest promoters of this concept. Him and I were colleagues probably 10 years ago. And he's always been in favor of basic income guarantee, and he's certainly the one that is pushing it within the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and at the Maritime Council, or Atlantic Council, I guess it's called.
Did Charlottetown not? They've addressed this. Have they?
Charlottetown has passed the motion, yes.
They have. Okay.
Yes.
They were iffy for quite a while because they were worried about. Marie and I met with them twice. Some of the councillors were worried that somehow costs would get passed down to them. And whether you have a basic income guarantee or other welfare, social safety net programs, that can happen. There's no question about that. That depends on, that happened in Ontario. But we don't envisage that happening, and it wouldn't be because of this proposal. It'd be because of basically political agendas.
If any councillors have any questions, put your hands up and I'll address them. Okay, we'll start with Councillor McRae.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing what you're doing. My first question is, for the basic income, would that be for, like, say, would it be different for a husband and a wife with 2 children as a husband and wife with 4 children?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so my comment to that would be, we know our welfare social assistance is high, but yet all our employers are looking for employees, and they can't get them. But we have so many people on welfare and social assistance. Why subsidize them when every business on the province is looking for employees and they don't want to work? So why should we give them more money when they don't want to work?
I think that's a substantially different issue than basic income guarantee. It's part of a systemic problem that I think we have in PEI, partly related to DEI. But the money is not high. People should want to work. If you're looking at a single person, now these figures would change. Mm-hmm. These figures were based about a year ago, so the consumer price index has went up since then for sure. But if you're looking at a single, it would apply to people 18 to 64. So you have other programs up to 18, the Canada Child Benefit and all those kind of things, and 65 you got old age pension, supplement, etc. So we wanted to stay out of that mix. A single family, based on figures about 8 months ago, would have been $19,252. A family with 2 kids would be $27,227. So you're not talking big money, but you are talking a bottom line in terms of a safety net. And with that security of income, we believe that it would give people the opportunity to either increase their skills, better mental and physical health, better nutrition, etc. And that should be a key benefit. On the job file, that's what I hear from Labour all the time. And as I say to them, I believe this will improve the system. And I'm saying to them that, look, the only way we're going to know for sure, let's do a demonstration project. And let's collect the data, put the facts on the table, and see where we end up. And on that issue of people not having a willingness to work, I hear it all the time. It's a serious, serious concern, but it's not due to a program like this. It's due to something substantially bigger.
Now, I've worked in the community for like 30 years and lived here most of my life. Where I see the poverty is our seniors. Our seniors are suffering. I've seen it where by the time they pay their rent, their lights, their phone, they have no money for groceries. It's the seniors we have to look after. And I am all for this to help the seniors, because I feel they are the ones that needs the help. They are not able to get out and do manual work like they've done their years. But yet you try to live on $1,300 a month and pay rent? Nobody can do it.
And just to be clear, this program won't deal with that. This goes from 18 to 64. And that is an issue that I think federal government has been trying to deal with small increases, and there's the supplement. But I don't disagree with you in terms of the situation seniors find themselves in. I've had seniors come into my office, Med Oil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just to be honest, this program is not designed for seniors, because we decided to end it at 64, from 18 to 64, because there's other programs from the federal government that are designed to deal with those issues. If they're not dealing with thematically, we know that, but we didn't want to get into that on basic income guarantee at this stage.
And another situation is that like seniors who are poor have guaranteed income supplement, and the problem with putting a program like this in place is that because of the legislation that goes with guaranteed income supplement, it's federal legislation, and that federal legislation is such that if you get $10 from some other source, it comes off your GIS. And that just gets really complicated. And so, but we're going to have to find some way to, like right now in PEI, if you're a senior and it's 1/3 of the seniors in PEI are receiving guaranteed income supplement, which means that they're living at poverty. Right now, when you check the market basket measure, a senior with OAS and GIS, guaranteed income supplement, are $384 exactly short of the poverty line. So it is a problem, and we're going to run into it it's going to hit us based on the other concern that you're mentioning that is really important, and that is that when you look at the people who are receiving social assistance, the majority of the people who are receiving social assistance are people who are unable to work. And so that's a fact for PEI that doesn't come out very often. Like you may know somebody that you think they're able to work, but that at least 65% clearly are people with disabilities. And so, of some one form or another. So I think we need to have, and this kind of program I think would look into that data, like where What is it that's making it really difficult for people to work?
Councillor Toombs, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I thought you were going around that way.
Oh, no, first, the way I saw the hands go up.
My questions were like, it'd be the federal government and the provincial government paying for the program. What's it going to replace? Like, is it, like, for example, like, there's people on welfare, correct? So is it going to be that the welfare, that'll be gone and this will be replacing it? Or is this going to be on top of it?
Eventually, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'll move it.
Eventually, if the program works out after the trial period, that would work. The difficulty you have, this is going to be a program that is based on the tax, on your income tax. So you're going to have a lag. The simplest way to do this with the federal government is it'll be based on your income tax, and so you'll be on the basic income guarantee going ahead. And when you file your taxes, that may change. So you need some provincial programming in the interim for people that fall out of the system or whatever. I was thinking the same way as you. Okay, we can drop the welfare program, we can drop the bureaucracy, we can drop that, but you can't do that until you put a program like this in permanent. And if we're doing a demonstration project, you need the basic system in place now, but there won't be double the money. They will not be getting a welfare payment, they'll be getting the basic income guarantee.
So
But there'll be substantial savings on the provincial end, but the problem is because it's a demonstration project and you're not dropping all the other programs, putting the new one in, you've got to kind of keep that basic infrastructure in place for people. It should be reduced in size, shouldn't be as much bureaucracy, but you had to keep it in place. In the eventuality, that's what you got to go back to, because this doesn't show the data in the way you want it to.
So would it affect also unemployment insurance?
No, it won't affect unemployment.
It would just be
Yeah.
Social assistance.
Yeah.
just the social assistance.
Unemployment insurance is entirely different, and it is a federal program, and it's based on your income, because some people get high unemployment, some people get lower.
And the only reason, but like with the social assistance, and you're saying if it replaced, I mean, down the road, the hope is it would replace something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and you've been in government long enough, that government has a tendency of, they don't eliminate anything, people just stay employed, and we just create a new department. Right? Have you ever heard of a department disappearing in the government and all those people went where did they go? No, they're there. They're someplace else, right? So but I was just wondering what they were looking at changing to replace.
Yeah.
No cost to employers or anything like that
No,
either.
no.
It would replace
It's not
the welfare system in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that's basically the social safety net, yeah.
Councillor Glant, did you have a question?
Thank you. I guess I kind of got a couple of them already answered, but I have a comment on it as well, and I think Wayne had mentioned that people would think that people wouldn't want to work with this, and I don't necessarily agree with that, because there's people staying home now, and I don't think that would change with this. Also, my other comment was, there's a lot of small, and I know there's businesses out there wouldn't appreciate me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. They won't pay any more than minimum wage as it is, and they got people working 30 hours a week, so they don't have to pay benefits, and they won't take them on full time, and then there's a lot of full time people who are just getting minimum wage. So I know that don't affect this, but if small businesses would pay more money, I think they'd keep better employees, and they'd be more willing to work. But my question also to this is there a threshold here when it comes to income? Is there a certain amount you have to be at before you would get this? Or is, you might have mentioned it there in a family of two, family of four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, if you're below that, if you're below the level of where the basic income guarantee is, you file your taxes, and that kind of it makes the system in one way more complicated and one way more simple, because it's based on your filing your income tax. But so it's simple from that perspective, that then you're entitled to a basic income guarantee. But it's complicated from the perspective that at the provincial level, you still have to have some kind of safety net system in place for new people who haven't filed income tax, that are coming in, that for whatever reason lost their job or got sick or whatever, and then fall below that threshold. So you still have the two systems kind of working. But the easiest way for it to be done nationally is to have it be based on your filing of income taxes, but that gives you a year's leg.
So it would be something like the GIS for the
Yeah.
seniors, working
Yeah.
the same way?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and and in your question, Bonnie, earlier, I mean, I am still amazed how many seniors are out there that don't get the supplement because they don't file their income tax. It boggles my mind, and you tell them, look, you've got to file for your income tax, and they still don't. But there's quite a number. It's high.
At the same time, on PEI, 1/3 of seniors receive guaranteed income supplement. 1/3. So that means that's 1/3 of seniors are living right at the poverty line or just below it.
And that's what you're saying, they're $384 below the poverty line, is that with that? Is that right? A third. Okay, council, any other questions? Or Jeff, councilor, or deputy mayor? Spencer?
Thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you, Your
My
Worship.
apologies.
That's okay. Thank you, Your Worship. I had two questions. First question, you mentioned that the guaranteed income supplement for seniors is like $10 in, $10 out sort of thing. If you're earning other money, then it would be reduced what the payment is. Would this be the same, that it's getting you to a threshold, or would it be? Oh,
It would
sorry.
be based on your income tax the following year.
And it would only get you to a level.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a
Yeah.
flat rate for everyone that has two children. Okay. And the second question, you mentioned that the Premier is on board with it, but not actually pushing it yet. What's the Prime Minister's thought yet? Have you heard what his,
I haven't heard. He's got the document.
or the finance?
They're certainly aware of it in the Prime Minister's office, but I don't know. There's quite a number of people in all parties, actually, there's two private members' bill and basic income guaranteed, a little different than this, because we tried to put the meat in the bones. There's a couple of private members' bills in Parliament on basically two different concepts, but on the principle of a basic income guarantee. And I know I started to work on this before COVID. And at that time, we had 69 members in the Liberal Party lined up to support it, and quite a number in the other parties as well. And then COVID hit, so, because I had a private member's bill on it, or was going to put it. And so I know there's fairly strong cross-party support.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Did somebody else have their hand up? Staff? Anyone? Councillor Toombs?
So what is the poverty line for, would it be based on per province?
Yes.
Or is it going, so what is the poverty line in PEI, we'll say?
In PEI, there are three measures.
Well, what would affect, for this one, we'll say, what is the poverty line for this here, what it would be?
When we did this, it was for
Your
a
basic.
family with two, 27,200 at the time we did this.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, staff?
And just on that question as well, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
This would, eventually, if you get to basic income guarantee kind of across the country, if you were in Vancouver or Toronto, you're looking at a different figure than you are here, because the, the costs in some of those cities are just
Now,
outrageous.
is that a
This-
27,000 person or two?
That, that's a family with two.
Like two people?
Yeah, two, yeah.
Okay. So it's 13,000 each.
Chief, did you have any questions?
No,
Dylan? No? All right, well, so what is the ask? The ask is for,
Yeah.
go
Yes.
ahead, Marie.
What we're asking of this council is that you would send letters. The council would authorize the mayor's office to send letters to the premier, the MPs and PEI. I'd like to add the senators as well, but it's not in the resolution. And also to the premier of the province and to the prime minister, to write a letter and say, this council is just simply saying, we want you to come to the table and discuss this and see where it goes. Like, it isn't, you don't have to say, we're supporting this program or that program. You're just simply asking them, come to the table and get the conversation going. That's really what we're asking the municipalities to do across the country.
Oh, that's great.
Basically, what we have here is a blueprint for them to start from.
Right.
And in terms of the document, where we've tried to outline the, as I said earlier, we've tried to outline the benefits, warts and all, as a blueprint for them to start discussions from, and hopefully conclude in a better social safety net at the end of the day. But to be committed to the 5 to 7 year demonstration project where you actually collect the data. I think that's what's most important here, because this won't be 100% right. There'll be errors. But if you can monitor everything from physical health, mental health, food needs, domestic disputes, etc., crime on the streets, then you know whether there's real benefits or not. And not all the benefits are financial. So that's what's critical, is the project being monitored and analyzed.
Councillor Glant.
Thank you for the presentation, and I guess I'd start it off, and from what I've heard here tonight, I would support a letter from Kensington Town Council to go forward to help you people out.
All right, well, I do want to thank you both for coming in. I know I had a great meeting with Marie and Trina, and I got a lot of information from them, and I suggested at that time that, Marie, that this would be a good time for you to come in and actually present what I received to council and educate us, so we all have a better understanding, and you're not receiving it from me, you're receiving it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. You are the experts on it. You know what I think, Wayne, you called it warts and all. There's good and bad and everything, but we do appreciate you coming in here and sharing all this information with council. This is something that council will deliberate on, and presumably we'll address it in our July or our August meeting. I think that typically would be, I think the resolution from council is typically how we go, and we send it off if council does agree to move forward. So I want to thank you both for coming, and also I would invite you to, by all means, stay for the rest of the meeting. It's such an exciting time, and we don't want you to leave. Don't feel as though you have to leave. You're more than welcome to stay. But if you wish to retire, you are more than welcome to retire as well, and thank you very much, and I'm sure I'll see you both at some point in time in the future. And by all means, if you get any questions or we need any information, we can reach out to either one of you, I gather, to get that information. Perfect. All right.
Not a problem, and hopefully by your next meeting, if we have authorization to release a copy of this report, we'll get a copy to you as soon as we have that information, so.
All right. That would be
Okay.
greatly appreciated.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Have a
Wayne.
good
Thanks.
evening.
Thank you very much, and thanks for coming.
Here's your purse, Marie. Don't forget it. You ought to leave that with the town council.
Marie, don't, yeah. Unless,
Marie's hearing aids are bad in a big crowd.
all right.
Mine are much better.
Good night.
Thanks now. Good night. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, council. All right, we'll move right along to the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting. Those minutes from June the 12th, regular meeting, are before you. Are there any errors or omissions in the minutes of June the 12th? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt those minutes as circulated. So moved by Councilor McCray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Spencer. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Any business arising from the minutes of June the 12th? Hearing none, we'll move right along to reports. The first report is the Chief Administrative Officer's report. That report is before you. Are there any questions on the report? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt that report as presented. So moved by Councillor Doucette, seconded by Councillor Toombs. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. All right, the Fire Department report is next, and that report is before you. Are there any questions on the report? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt that report as presented. So moved by Councillor Doucette, seconded by Deputy Mayor Spencer. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Moving right along to the Police Department's statistical report. That report is before you. Any questions, Council? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to receive or to adopt that report. So moved by Councillor McCray, seconded by Councillor Gallant. Or no, it wasn't Councillor Toombs, I think it was. Yeah. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Chief, did you have anything to bring to council other than what's in the report?
Just that you notice that Councilor Glenn did add the bicycle helmets in my report. So at the time of the end of May, we had 6 contacts, and some of those fell over into June because it was the same kids who caused the problems. Met with a couple of parents, and the issue is better than it was. Now, it's not 100, but we've given away 7 helmets that we had from the police vehicles. I'm going to try and get a few more. But I think overall, since the school's gotten out, I think the things are going well with the bicycle helmets. But you know, if you see something, let us know. There's a couple of adults still that are not doing exactly what they're supposed to. But I tried to give one of them a helmet the other day. He said, "No, thanks, I'll walk." So you know, I can't force them to do it. Other than that, it's going along well.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
I'm going to step out.
All right, thank you, Chief. Record will reflect the chief is left at 7:49. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Development Permit Summary Report. That report is before you. Are there any questions on the report, Council? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt that report as presented. So moved by Councillor Gallant, seconded by Deputy Mayor Spencer. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Moving right along, there are no bills. We do not have financials for this month, so we'll have those, I'm sure, soon once our manager of finance and administration gets things sorted out. So we'll move right along to the next 4 items. We have nothing. The Credit Union Center report is the next report. There is something. Any questions on the report? This is to the end of May, I believe it is it not? Yes, to the end of May. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt that report as presented. So moved by Deputy Mayor Spencer, seconded by Councillor Doucette. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, we are now into the Mayor's report. That report is before you. Are there any questions on the Mayor's report? think everything is fairly straightforward. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the mayor's report as presented. So moved by Councillor Toombs, seconded by Councillor Gallant. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, the Federation of PEI Municipalities. Councillor Mann, do you have anything to report there?
Actually, nothing to report because we're waiting till the 10th for the nominations to close for the thing, and then they were going to schedule they canceled our June meeting, and we want to hold it in July after this date. So
Today's the date.
Today's the last day, and then they're hoping to have the meeting. Then we'll bring everybody onto the board.
Right, great. We'll get an update next
Other than
month.
that, all I'm doing is signing checks. So.
Okay, sounds good. Great, thank you. Councillor McCray, what about the Kensington Area Chamber of Commerce?
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a meeting last week, and we talked about the new website that's up, Ask Kensington, and it's been really overwhelming, the support and how well it's going. There's absolutely no issues with it. Everything is really good, so we're quite pleased with it. The car rally was a great success, but they need more volunteers for next year. So the more that can volunteer, there just wasn't enough. Wasn't enough people to help out and stuff, and it just made it too hard. So we're looking for more volunteers. They're leaving the golf tournament in June. They're going to stay with June, because June seemed to be a better month than going for July and August, and things seem to be quieter in the 1st of June, so we're going to stay with June. We had a discussion on the Locks of Love that I've been mulling over for the last years for the Alicia Toombs Park. And we're looking for some funding to go ahead with that. We did contact Malpac Iron to get a price on it, and actually the price came in very reasonable. So some letters have went out to some major sponsors to see if they would help with a donation of some sort to get this heart up and going. And once the letters are back and the funding's in place, I'll meet with Malpac Arms and get a print or something of what the heart will look like and bring it back to council and for approval.
Very good, thank you. Any questions of Councillor McCray? Councillor Mann?
Yeah, you said about the golf tournament staying in June. Is that so there won't be one in the fall?
No, they're thinking of leaving it in June.
Okay,
Because
just that June was really from last year, so they're going
Yeah.
to be short a fundraising event for 2023. So
Yeah. So that was what was just discussed. Like, it just seemed to be overall better. So they're thinking of leaving it in June. It may go to September. Who knows?
All right, thank you, Councillor McCray. Deputy Mayor Spencer, 55-plus games.
Thank you, Your Worship. I spoke with Corinne Pickering today, and not a lot to report. The staff person has been at work now for a week, and the registration's open on Wednesday for all the events.
All right, thank you. The next item is the Heart of PEI Committee, and there's nothing new to report on that. We're still waiting, the committee's still waiting for an answer from the provincial government on a piece of land for the caboose out at on the corner of Gerald McCarville Drive and the Broadway Street South. And we haven't heard back as of yet, so we're still waiting to hear on that. If that goes, if they get approval on that, then the plan is to look for funding to try to have it manufactured and placed there. So it's just in hold, waiting for other answers. Other than that, there's nothing new. That was the main topic that's on the agenda for the Heart of PEI this year. All right, we'll move right along to new business. First is request for decision number 23-24. That information is before you. This is for the request to look at parking lot expansion and additional paving for the Credit Union Center. The information is before you. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Baker?
No, not really to add what's written there, but the request for decision is actually 35.
Oh,
Yeah, you can see on the agenda what I did. I got two requests for decisions, just from when I copy and pasted the file name.
oh, I see. All right. That's my bad. It is-
35.
It is correct as 23-35. 23-24 is me being dyslexic. I will call it that. All right, so the information is before you. Are there any questions or clarification needed on the information that's before you? This was something that town council had discussed with the possibility of adding to it. And I think basically what we're looking at right now is that there's not likely going to be, the $500,000 that was budgeted for initially, we're probably going to come in under that. Is that correct, Mr. Baker? For, I think it was around 430,000. There might be a few extra, but we may need more money to actually pay for it. We are trying to get some extra funding from other sources. Nobody's come forward with the money as of yet. We're still going to try and get that, but we have to make a decision to either go or no go tonight, because if we decide we're going to go ahead, the paving is going to start right away, and then we'll have to we'll either borrow the money if we don't get the money funded from other sources. If we decide we're not going to go ahead, well then fine, we just continue to upgrade the parking lot, repaving what we are currently planning to do, which is covered under the ICIP. But we cannot put through the additional paving costs under the ICIP program. So it's a question, do we want to expand the parking lot? Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting this resolution to expand the parking lot. I was down there today, matter of fact, to take a look and with Robert, and I think it's a great idea to expand it up towards Stewart or Lowther Street, that end, I mean, and have the walkway coming in off Garden Drive for people that walk to the arena, and there is a number of people who walk to the arena, or even if they're parking out in the street, it's easier for them to get in, safer for them to get in the wintertime. It just means we have to clean one more small sidewalk, but so I think that's good that we paved that in there. It's kind of ratty looking anyway, I guess you could say, with crushed asphalt there and the grass growing up in amongst it. And then the additional paving down on the other end, I think will make it a lot better for, it will take some cars off the street as well, or I hope it will, especially down at the end of Garden Drive towards Barrett there. So I think it would, I like the idea, and I think, and I will be supporting it. My only concern is, and I don't think we can do anything about it, is when you get looking at it down there and we get a whole new parking lot in it, it's kind of too bad on the rink side of the old ice surface where the fence is. The fence is kind of bad shape, and that old foundation is pretty well cracked up and really looks bad. And Robert and I were looking at it today just in conversation, and it would be pretty major, I would think, to repair that, or maybe it wouldn't be, but maybe that's something we want to take a look at as well when we're doing the parking lot. But I'm just chucking that out there, but I will support the resolution to do the parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glant. Any other comments, Councillor McCray?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the parking is up behind where the skate park is now, going towards Lowther Street, that their walkway there. That's going to be resurfaced, correct?
The park.
That's what,
The walkway will be on the, let me see, on the north side of the old ice surface, and that'll be a walkway, and then it'll be paved. That section will be paved. That's where the Zamboni dumps its ice in the wintertime.
Yes.
So that'll be paved there. So there'll be no parking there. There's
Okay.
no increase in parking there. The increase in parking is on the other section down. They're going to take a portion of the grassed area that is on the south side of the ice surface, the old ice surface, which will make it a little wider. And then they're going to put another row of, 40 feet of pavement along the grassed area towards the Alicia Dooms Park on that south side. and then there'll be an extra row of cars being able to park, and there'll be
So you're
two
taking at
rows.
least 40 feet of the park.
I think it's about 40 feet.
It's about 40 feet. There's no measurements given on the drawing, but given that the length that we dictate for a parking space is 20 feet,
Yeah.
and then an additional 20 feet to accommodate two-way traffic.
So that's almost half the park.
That is I'm not sure exactly
Well,
what the distance is.
I was
but it
down
may-
on Sunday, so it would be almost half.
It may be a little bit in excess of half. I'm not 100% certain.
Okay.
And at one time, we used to use the old ice service for overflow parking, but when council decided to turn that into a skate park and an ice service, well, an outdoor ice service, but it's used for ball hockey in the wintertime if there's no ice, which sometimes there's been, this past winter, there weren't many days where we had ice, but there were a lot of kids in there playing ball hockey, and they still use I think they still use the skate park some in the wintertime as well. So when council decided to move forward on that, the decision was that would not be used for overflow parking anymore. So, yes, Councillor McCray.
I just want to add
Your mic's not on. There you go. Oh,
There it goes. I just want to add to it. I've been like a big founder of that park, and to take half of it, I have an issue with that. I've had people, and I've seen it, where people have been barbecuing there. I was down on Sunday, and there was people out sitting on the gazebo, and I've had family members. I've had other people who have wedding pictures done there. We've done the grade 6 graduation there, the fishing derby. There's so much potential there. And to take over half of that park, I cannot support this. I
not taking
am
it.
totally,
that grassed area is not the park. That grassed area is part of the Credit Union Center. The park starts, the Luciatones Park starts at the tree line, I would say. This is the gazebo that's down there. It's not even up to the gazebo. There's another 20 feet or more from where the paved area would be to where the gazebo is. You know where I mean?
no,
You know the gazebo that's down there?
yes.
Well, this pavement, there would still be about approximately 20 feet of grassed area between the gazebo and the pavement area.
But when you're down there at the fishing derby, there's a lot of people around that area. And there's still going to be cars that close to the park. Like, we don't have many family parks or family places to go in Kensington, and yet we're going to make the one that's the most important one we did in council in 2007, we're going to make it smaller, where we should be trying to enrich it and make it look more beautiful and more attractive. Just my opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Glant?
Thank you. I certainly appreciate the Alicia Toombs Park as well, but when you go down there and look at it today, and I was there with Robert, it's not going to take, and as you mentioned, it's really not part of the park. It's where people park now. If you go down there during the Harvest Festival, there's people parked out in the grass. They're parked at least 2 rows farther down off the pavement than they are now. So the way Robert explained it to me and the way it shows on here is that there will be 1 more row of parking that you can park back to back, and then those people could pull out and drive out properly without, going all the way around. It's not, in my opinion, it's certainly not going to affect the park at all. There's still going to be all kinds of room, grassed area there, and as I said earlier, when you go down there during big events, they're all parked out on the grass anyway. At least 2 more rows out there, and is all you're doing is paving it and making it easier in the winter when there's snow removal and so on and so forth. So I don't feel it's affecting the park a bit. I think it's adding to the whole area by giving them more parking for the fishing derby. Fishing derby, they're all parked out on the grass, so you might as well have it paved and have them parking properly. And as I said, it makes it easier in the winter for removing snow, and I think if you take a walk down, take a look at it and see exactly what's going to happen, you'll find it's not going to affect the park.
Thank you. Councillor Toombs?
Well, 20 feet from the gazebo is the length of my half-ton, so that's not that long from the gazebo. And I know we've been down there with my family and we've used the park, and a lot of that area there that would be paved is, I've been out throwing a football and kicking a soccer and playing soccer and stuff, so 20 feet isn't, you know, like I said, not a whole lot of, there's 20 feet. Length of my half-ton fit right in here, right? But the length of the truck you drive, that's 20 feet. So that's what's left for paving. Now, I don't care if somebody says, well, the park starts here, the park starts, well, I'm not down looking at pins. I'm looking at the space that's being used for the park and all that. So anyways, I'm just not too keen on 40 feet of paving going that way. When I was down and looked at it, and looked at this, I originally figured it was probably going to be even 30 feet of paving, but then I found out that it's probably going to be 2 lanes of in behind that, so that's another 10 feet. So that's 10 feet more off of the grass. So.
All right, I appreciate what you're saying, but keep in mind as well that we also have the credit union center that we're trying to find spots where people can park, and we do have a rink down there that's quite busy, and we can't have them parking on the streets any more than we have to. Deputy Mayor Spencer.
Thank you, Your Worship. 2 questions. First question, I'm just looking at a Google map here. I'm guessing that the paving wouldn't quite go up to the sign out by the road. It wouldn't quite go over that far. Would I be right?
Do you have the drawing? The drawing is there.
Yeah, I don't think the sign was not indicated on the drawing, but I'm just looking
Yeah,
at the Google map.
it is right there. It's on the bottom.
Oh, yes, it is. I see it there now. Okay, so that's correct then. It's not going all the way to the sign.
Right.
Okay. And second question, I'm guessing, Your Worship, you and Mr. Baker have probably reviewed the financial of this and the impacts, and are you folks comfortable with the long-term borrowing?
We are, it's kind of one of those things, if we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. If we're not going to do it, then that's fine. It's kind of one of those things that we are still hopeful that we can come up with some, find somebody that'll help fund it partially. If not, then we are going to be potentially coming back for a borrowing resolution to borrow more money. But at this stage of the game, it's kind of one of those things that if we're going to do it at all, now is the time to do it. If we're not going to do it at all, then that's immaterial. So,
Thank you.
Councillor, did you have your hand up? No.
No, I was just going to say that from the existing ramp into the gazebo, it's actually about 18 feet back is where, if this new asphalt is installed, the edge of the asphalt will be about 18 feet from the beginning of the gazebo ramp. So I just want to make sure everybody understands the distances that we are talking about. And again, that was our approach to it. The likelihood that we're going to get this project, or this portion of the project, funded is virtually nil. So realistically, what we would be looking at here is borrowing the funds to enable us to do it, if indeed we're going to, if indeed council's going to give direction to us to proceed on it. And so realistically, Kern and Briggs is going to be doing the resurfacing project. The schedule says that they're going to be in town next Monday to start the resurfacing project. Really, if we are going to proceed with it, be it this year, next year, or the following year, then the time to do it is now. It gets rid of any joins in the asphalt. It certainly, if we can lay out one seam of asphalt, it's from a longevity perspective, there's less opportunity for water infiltration. Things of that nature. It's not something we contemplated at the original start of the project, although there were discussions at a council level from the very beginning when we developed the overall credit union center upgrades project, for us to take a look at a way to facilitate more parking down there. And we are dealing with land constraints down there, unless we're going to pick a ball field up and move it to another location. There just simply is not a lot of land down there for us to work with. And so the comments and concerns brought forward tonight are certainly not lost on us as staff, and we certainly recognize the importance of that park to the community. My family and I use it periodically as well. So
I'm more optimistic that we're going to get some funding than Mr. Baker is, because I'm still keeping the pressure on. I've requested an extra $300,000, and I'm not giving up on that yet. I haven't been told no yet. Until I'm told no, I'm still optimistic, and I'm going to keep the pressure up to try to get that. It's just not going to be from a funding source. It's going to be, we're not going to be applying for it. It's kind of a handout, but you don't get a handout if you don't ask for it, and I've been asking for that handout, and I sent another email off just, what's today? I guess it was last week. So it's, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but failing that, failing that, as I mentioned, if we don't get it, then we will have to, we may come back, we'll be probably coming back to increase that borrowing resolution from $500,000 to, maybe it'll be 600,000 or maybe 650. It's hard to say what it'll be. But at this stage of the game, it sits at 500,000. Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm optimistic that you'll get some of that funding, because I talked to an individual who seemed to support it. So I'm just wondering, if we go ahead with it, is there, as I mentioned earlier, is there anything we can do with that cracked wall along the old ice surface, or is that something that, before they pave, I mean, they're going to be digging it all up, would it be possible to reinforce that and make it look a little bit better than it is while they're at it? But I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the solution might be to that. Maybe we may have to plant some flowers in front of it. I'm not sure. But I was down talking to Mr. Wood on that as well, and he was saying as well that if we take some of the stuff out, then we ruin the pavement that we've already put in there. So it's a matter of, we may have to try and hide it rather than fix it. I'm not sure if there's anything can be done, but I'm sure that Mr. Baker's writing here to probably take a look at it, see if there is anything to do with it. And maybe the answer is, maybe we have to put up a picket, well, I'm exaggerating, like a picket fence in front of it, but there may be some things we can do to make it look a little less broken up the way it is. Good point, though. Thank you, Councillor Glant.
Okay, thank you. Well, just if Kern and Briggs are quite capable of making suggestions, and it may not be they may come up with something to make it look better while they're doing the pavement. It's just a thought, and we could ask them. So I would appreciate if it just would look an awful lot nicer than it is there now.
Yeah, I understand. All right, any other questions? Councillor Thomas?
Yeah, when it comes to the paving, I'm not against all the paving. I guess I should say I'm just not for half the paving.
I understand.
Is what I'm looking at. And also with the cement, I did talk to Mr. Baker about that one time. We just never got a chance to look at a product that may help dress it up, we'll say, or make it look a little better. But we just haven't been able to get together to look at it.
This is what Councillor Glant's talking about, you mean? That cement?
That cement, yes,
Okay,
that
yep,
wall,
gotcha.
that
Yep.
wall there.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wondering, Area 1, so you say there's going to be no parking in that section?
That's what I understand. I think that's all for the Zamboni. Do you know, Mr. Baker?
that would be my understanding as well, as that that was going to be installed to install the walkway there to allow pedestrians to access the parking area and to give the Zamboni a hard surface to.
I thought they might be able to have parking at least on one side or something, just to,
Whether or not,
Yeah.
we'd certainly take a look at whether or not we could fit any additional parking in there. At this point, we'll take every possible parking space that we
Yeah,
can.
well, actually,
we can gather.
well, if you're gonna go with the real stalls, I guess, they're quite, like say, when I park in there now, I got one wheels on one yellow line, and my other wheels on the other yellow line. You gotta realize that for a rink, these people aren't showing up in Fiats and Priuses, they're showing up in pickup trucks and SUVs, so the parking that's down there now is too small. So I'm just hoping that the lines will be a little bit wider.
So these parking spaces will be installed according to our own policy. And the lines that are painted down there now have typically been painted by our own staff. They go out with a couple of pieces of the 2x4 and paint the line. So these will be installed at a width of, I believe it's 9 or 10 feet and a length of 20 feet.
I just know now it's bad.
Yeah. Councillor Glant, I think you were first.
Thank you. Just in regards to Councillor Mann's comments, I think talking to Robert today, there would be some parking. It would give you more parking there, but it's also important to note that it currently has crushed asphalt there, which has grass growing up through it and so on and so forth. But when you have a Zamboni coming outside now to dump, one time they used to be able to dump inside, but somehow along the way the pit got filled in, but you don't want the Zamboni driving out into the area where there's cars. Now they have to pylon an area off to keep people from parking there so they can get out properly to dump, because as you know, there's a lot of salt in the parking lot in the wintertime. You take salt on the Zamboni wheels and back in the ice, that really don't work well. So I can understand why he needs that area paved up there, but I think talking to him today, there would be some extra parking there as well.
Yeah, there may be other spots freed up because they can take the Zamboni in from a different location. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be looked at. Councillor Toombs, did you have your hand up again? Councillor
Yeah,
Toombs?
yes, it was just to do with what Councillor Glant he's kind of touched on that, the same thing. It's just the Zambonis generally dumped up there, and because they used to, before they even put crushed asphalt, they used to dump just off the edge of the pavement, just wherever they could, and that was not really the best way anyways, and that way they can kind of cordon it off, and the fellow can come out, dump fairly quick, and get back in, and it's tidy out of the way, really.
Yeah.
So.
All right, any other questions, Council? Our Deputy Mayor Spencer?
Just a thought, and maybe there's a reason why. Is there a reason that they can't go out the back door and dump and then come back in across and park it in their typical spot?
The back door of the rink?
Yeah.
It was not paved to begin with.
I just wasn't sure if there's a reason it
And
couldn't be
that's where
dumped there.
Probably Councillor Glant, I think he has an answer to
Okay,
that question. We'll let him answer it.
So you mean go all the way around the rink? No.
If you were to
Go ahead.
I guess I meant when they're finished doing the resurface, to exit out the back door, dump, then drive back across and park in the spot where they typically would park.
Councillor Glant.
No, that'd be impossible in the wintertime, because those gates at the other end you can't open those in the winter, once the ice is in. You can't go out that door. Plus, there's 2 dressing rooms there all the time, and,
And that's also where the hockey teams come in as well, right?
No, it'd be, those gates are only made for in the winter, or in the summertime, when the arena has no ice in it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, Council? Hearing none, who wants to read the resolution into the record? Councillor Glant, go right ahead.
Thank you. The Kensington Town Council authorized staff to proceed with the expansion to the Credit Union Center parking area as per quote from Kern & Briggs in the amount of $168,833 as 00 plus HST dated July 5th, 2023.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that resolution? Seconded by Councillor Doucette. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Let the record reflect that Councillor McCrae and Councillor Toombs voted against the motion. The motion is approved. All right, moving right along to Request for decision 2023-36 this time, which is the rezoning application for the PID number 685545, and that is the one that's located up in the corner of Sunset Drive and School Street. They are looking to have, am I right on that? Yes, they're looking to have that rezoned, and basically what we just need to direct Mr. Baker to proceed with the processors, public meeting, et cetera, et cetera. Are there any questions on what's being asked, Council? Councillor Gland.
Thank you. That's done the corner of Sunset and
And
School?
Yes.
So is that,
That's the lot that
the
just
Mosier
sold.
place? That vacant lot there?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was the one or not. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, Council? Then would somebody like to read into the record the resolution that authorizes Mr. Baker to proceed with a public meeting and so forth? I'll go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Be it resolved that Town Council direct the CEO to proceed with scheduling a public meeting to gather further information in the consideration of an application to amend the Town of Kensington Development Control Bylaw and official plan to rezone PID number 685545 from its current single residential zoning designation R1 to a low-density residential zoning designation R2.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that resolution? Seconded by Councillor Doucette. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. All right, we'll move right along to other matters. The first item under other matters is the audited financial statement, which Council has received the information from our auditors previous. We basically need a formal resolution to accept the auditor's financial statements, and I would entertain a motion for that at this stage. Moved by Councillor Mann, seconded by Councillor Toombs, that the audited financial statements for 2022-23 be adopted as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. All right, other matters, couple of things that I had was, first of all, I want to, on behalf of Council, express sympathy of Town Council and staff to Councillor Tyler Doucette on the passing of his grandfather, who passed away just a couple of days ago, I guess. I think the week was yesterday, and I'm sorry I was not aware of it, Councillor Doucette, but the sympathy of all of us is expressed to you and the family. Reminder to Council that there are no Committee of Council meetings during July and August, in case you have forgotten, and I'm sure you probably didn't. And the other thing is that we need to know whether we are going to be putting a team in the Harvest Festival Golf Tournament, which is taking place sometime in August the 20th, is it? 20th, I think it is. Is it Council's wish that we put a golf team, a golf team into the Harvest Festival? Motion to do so, was that, why not? Moved by Councillor Mann, seconded by Councillor Glant, that we enter a golf team into the Harvest Festival Golf Tournament. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. All right, those are all the items that I had under other matters. Anybody else? Councillor Toombs.
Just one thing, I can't remember when it was brought up, Deputy Mayor brought it up about the broken fence that, well, I don't know, loosely called fence. I can't remember when you brought it up, whether it was a committee of council or last meeting at the old Legion property. I haven't heard anything since, and I just couldn't remember when it was last brought up.
I think it was the last meeting, but Mr. Baker, I know you're working on that. Is there anything new that's on your to-do list?
It's on my to-do list.
Okay, it's on his to-do list, but his to-do list has got a little bit long lately, so it's still on his to-do list. Is that the best way to answer that question?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to answer that question. So in addition to trying to get those barricades removed, we're also trying to get the property owner to install a fence along the residential properties there as well, a proper wooden fence.
All right, follow up, Councillor Toombs.
So we want a fence there, or at least get it cleaned up, and then if they want to put a proper fence in, that's neither here nor there, because, I mean, if they want to leave it open, that's fine. It's just to get rid of that ugly from what I understand.
Yeah, so we're looking at it twofold. We're dealing with the adjacent property owners who are having some issues with people walking through their properties, some issues with light, noise, and just generally not being able to enjoy the privacy of their backyards. We also met with on the original. Yeah, that would be on the west side of the property. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the same,
No, just along the west side of the property where the adjoining residential properties are. Yeah, and so when the property was first redeveloped, we're going back a number of years into a used car parking lot. We put a requirement on that owner at that time to construct a fence, and it never got done, and then the property got sold, and so we had another conversation about installing a fence, and the fence has not been installed, so we're trying to work with the current property owner to get one installed there on the west side of the property.
it's two different, we're clean up this one and then get one on the west side.
Correct.
Okay.
Councillor Gallant, I believe you were next.
Thank you. That was on my list as well. Councillor Spencer, I think, had brought it up back a few weeks ago now, or a couple of meetings ago. And even if it could get cleaned up for the time being, like straightened up and the pavement swept and all the broken asphalt and the barricades at least straightened up, it would help somewhat. But I have had some complaints, not only from residents, but I also had some people that were visiting the ball fields that made comments about it as well. So it'd be nice to see that cleaned up. My other couple of issues were mine, as well as some citizens. The lot out by the Frosty Treat Dairy Bar that's now a hayfield, who owns that? Is that owned by the Frosty Treat?
Same owner as the Frosty Treat,
Okay.
correct.
Wondering if Mr. Ellis could probably get that cleaned up, because that's a real eyesore coming into town there, or at least in my opinion and the opinion of some of the neighbors out there. And my other issue was a beef of mine as well, along with some residents, is people that are cutting grass and mowing it out onto the streets. And it's happening in several places in town, some on a regular basis, and I'll give you one example, is down on Lowther Street. There's a vacant lot down there, and they cut the grass down there the other day, and there was more grass out in the street than there were in the lot after they were done, and it just laid there, and it's not only looks bad, it's danger for people on motorcycles and or bicycles when they do that. So there's 3 or 4 property owners around town that are doing that, so I'm wondering if they could be spoken to, or maybe letters sent or something to them, just to remind them that. And plus, it also gets into the storm sewers as well when they blow it all out and it rains and goes down to the manholes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other matters, council? Deputy Mayor Spencer?
Just a thought on the grass and the safety with motorcycles and bicycles. Even something I know I've seen, I think the PEI Road Condition Facebook group has put out public safety notices on their website. Maybe if we could get a screen grab of that or something and repost it on our own Facebook, it might be a little less work for staff to have to send out letters to everyone, but may get the thing out to a broad number of people to see that.
It's an education thing, I think, that we
For
need
sure.
to do, and maybe even an advertisement in the local paper might help to let people know that this is not acceptable. Any other comments or other matters, council? Hearing none, we'll move right along to correspondence. And I don't have my correspondence open, council. Hold on a second. I did have it opened. Oh, you had one more thing? Good, that'll give me time to get
While you
mine.
open, just curious, all the cosmetic repairs and visual. I know that the ice plant won't be completed in time for Harvest Festival, but everything visually that the general public would see would be completed by the time that we're having the Harvest Festival in the rink. Is that correct?
It would appear that, yes, that's
So-
the plan at this stage of the game. The paving should be done started within a week. The painting there's gonna start that tomorrow, I believe, isn't it?
So I guess I'm
So
wondering, would we
the
want
lights
to?
are supposed to arrive Wednesday or Thursday, I think, of this week. So things are moving forward at
Right.
a good pace.
Would we want to have some sort of a grand reopening of the rink at the
Yeah,
Harvest
we might-
Festival?
Yeah, we might want to do that. Let's keep that in the back of our mind. We might even see if, I'm sure some of the federal money that's involved there, they might want to come up and be part of a.
Bring another checkbook for some extra
Yeah,
paving.
Bring a checkbook too. They don't seem to be bringing the checkbooks with them, even though I keep asking them, but anyway, good point. We'll see about that, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? Then we'll move right along to the correspondence. The first item of correspondence, of course, is a letter from the senior surfers, and they have basically told us a little bit about what they're doing, and they're thanking the town, of course, for the donation of that facility for their clubhouse. And also, you might notice that 2 of their members are now on the board of the PEI Senior Secretariat, Linda Stafford and Iva Skierman. So congratulations to both of them. We will receive that for information. Additionally, there is a thank you to the staff of the town of Kensington for their thoughts and also for an honor to win the French 621 Academic Award. That's from Jack McCarwell. So I suspect that's for funds that we donated to the graduation exercises. I think that's what that is. So it's really from the town of Kensington. Correct?
100%.
100%. You didn't make the personal donation?
Did not make a personal donation.
And it's town of Kensington. The next one is You're Making a Difference. It's a thank you from the PEI Humane Society, I believe, for a donation to the Humane Society in memory of Judy Cole, which is received that for information. The next is also a donation to the prom and graduation activities for Kish, and it's a thank you from the 2023 Kish graduation class. We received that for information, and you can see the great picture of all the graduates in there. They did a great job. And the last one is a letter from Sharon Wilton looking for this town council to consider a proclamation for International Wrongful Conviction Committee, which is it's proclaimed, to have it proclaimed for October the 2nd, 2023. There are many municipalities that are already doing this. I was looking online, and actually, I know one of the ones I found was, I think Charlottetown has, and I know Halifax has. Anyway, if it is the wish of council, I would certainly move forward with a proclamation recognizing International Wrongful Conviction Day on October the 2nd, 2023. Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Worship. I support these type of things, and I would support this one. But means we're on this, I'm curious, back a number of years ago, we had a day for people that were injured in the workforce.
Yeah.
Is that still, and we used to, or injured or lost their lives, I think. Is that, do we still do that here in Kensington? I know we had a plaque out there for it at one time.
There has been occasions when that has taken place. Sometimes we don't know about it until too late. There are some years that we've actually flown their flag on that particular day, and I think that if we are aware of it, we try to fly the flag on that day and proclaim it as well, but sometimes we don't know about it until after the fact, and I don't know if it could be just miscommunication, or are you aware of anything? It's usually after the fact we find out about it, isn't it?
I don't know if it's after the fact. The only time that I'm aware of that we've ever flown the flag for that was at their request, when they submitted a specific request for us to fly the flag. And I think, I could be wrong, but I believe that was on one occasion. And I believe at that time it was an initiative led by the Chamber of Commerce, I believe. And they had led a letter parade and stuff through the town as well.
I believe you're right. It was. I remember that. It was the Chamber of Commerce that actually initiated that at the time. Councillor Glant?
Yeah, I kind of remember that, but we did do a proclamation back, because I signed it, and I remember there was a plaque on the wall out there that said what day it was and everything. And I think the plaque was taken off probably when we did the renovations or the painting. And I'm just wondering if we could find that, and whatever day we had signed that to do it, then we could have it we could automatically do it as this one here each year. So once you do these things and you agree to them, I think they should be done each year for these organizations. So.
Well, and we typically, anytime there's, what we've been doing, the proclamations, that we've been getting a request from the organizations each and every year to make sure, and that way the communication goes both ways. So this is the first time we've received this particular one. But anyway, everybody's in agreement that we will proclaim October the 2nd, 2023, International Wrongful Conviction Day? Or I guess it's Wrongful Conviction Day, if it's international. All right, we'll move forward with that. And that is all the correspondence that I have, unless there's nothing else. If there's nothing else to bring, Councillor Toombs?
Just when we were talking about the Harvest Festival, and maybe it's a little early, I'm sure the committee will be, I think last year, sometimes the committee gets together, or represents here and drops by. Are there going to be, are they considering booths this year, or is it too early to know? Because I know I heard a few people saying it was a little, it's too bad they didn't have they usually do have booths, and I guess last year there was none, so maybe they could look at that, or, I don't know, maybe they are looking at that, I guess.
They haven't
You
had
can
booths.
put the bug in
booths.
their ear,
Yeah.
I guess, just pass it along.
They haven't had booths for more than 1 year, but I know they
Well,
do
we haven't had
provide.
it for
I know they-
COVID, so,
No,
right?
but they do provide tables for people who want to set up, and those are provided, I believe, free of charge. There wasn't a lot of uptake on the booths, as I understand, but anyway, we can follow up with Mr. Baker and the committee. The other thing that, since you mentioned Harvest Festival, the theme, or theme, is that what you would call it, for the parade this year, is celebrating our first responders. And our float is being decorated accordingly, so that work is already ongoing. So that is what the theme for our Harvest Festival is this year, is celebrating our first responders, so just so you're all aware of it. Councillor Glant.
Thank you. I'm glad Councillor Toombs brought that up, because I did have that mentioned to me by people from the Women's Institute, for an example, why we don't have booths, and I think we did get away from it when COVID was on for that reason. So I would maybe hope that we could at least contact the committee and or Robert and see if there's a possibility, if there is businesses out, even if it's only 10 booths or 5 booths, if there's somebody interested. I certainly liked it last year. They had changed the stage to the far end, I think, which I think would take away from booths, of course, but you still have all this in by the canteen and from the penalty box area down. I think it adds to the festival if there's businesses that are interested. They don't necessarily have to be manned. If they want to put a booth in, and and at $100 or whatever they charge them to put a booth in, I think it should be at least investigated, because I did have concerns as well from the Legion, the Women's Institute, and people like that. Thank you.
Well, I know I remember Robert saying last year that tables were provided. If anybody made the request, they were provided tables. They weren't necessarily setting them up as booths, but they were provided areas and provided tables. But anyway, we can do some, Mr. Bacon can do some follow-up and see what the actual plans are. Some of that may have been related to COVID. It might not have been. I'm not sure 100%. I'm not sure what the committee's decision was. There is a committee that obviously does take a look at these things. A bunch of volunteers. Any other councillor, Deputy Mayor Spencer?
And the parade is, I'm looking here, I'm thinking August the 19th, is that correct?
August the 19th, 2 o'clock, leaving from the Queen Elizabeth, ending up at the rink. And hopefully we'll see you all at that. We'll have a council meeting long before that. So put that in your calendars. Any other items, council? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councillor Toombs, seconded by Councillor McCrae. All those in favor? Motion carried. We are adjourned. It is 8:39 p.m. Thank you, council. Thank you for your tolerance. It's been a good evening.